Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the last in this series of the best of the 96. So, this is the best of the last 12. 12/8 to 96, ladies and gentlemen. There have been 8 episodes where I've gone through the 96 original Kenner characters and the original Kenner run, or whatever you want to call it. And I've found the modern equivalents that I think are the best figures for each character. And I've really enjoyed making this series. And there's more to come, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, I've already chosen them. Usually I look at the book and then I go off finding them. But I'll still look at the book and show you what we're going to be looking at in this last episode. But I'm going to talk to you at the end about there's more to come. I'm so glad it's not the end. I've got other series in mind for best of series. But for this series itself, I'm also next, I'm going to be looking at the very best of all of the 96 I chose for this series. Like the very best, and also the very worst, because in some cases I've highlighted a few things that really need attention from Hasbro, you know what I mean? Got as far as 84, and then it's 85 onwards, so it's Amanaman, we've got Barada, the Imperial Gunner, Han Carbonite, Luke, Stormtrooper disguise, Anakin Skywalker, Sebastian Shaw, Anakin Skywalker, I might add, EV-99, Warwick, missing. Lando Calrissian, the A-Wing pilot. I spoke about him in the last episode I did on the channel, which was the TVC A-Wing special I did. Imperial Dignitary, Simalu, Skip to Maloo. And then Yak Face. And here they are. Let's start off with number 85, Amanaman. I got this, I'd say, about 4 years ago now. Power of the Jedi line. Brilliant figure, that. I always remember thinking how good the original 80s Amanaman was. It's a figure I did have. And this is, you know, it's just as good, really. It's a, you know, I really hope they recard either him or another figure, maybe add some more articulation, but there's not much in it, really. Oh, except you get all these accessories. I don't remember. Did you get a staff? Maybe you did get a staff with the 80s one. I don't remember him dragging a carcass around there in the 1980s version that I remember. Let's have a look at him in here. What have we got? And I presume I would have got a tri-logo one being in the UK. I was too young, I can't remember. You need people like the BOE who've got living memories of packaging. I just ripped them open and played with them. But Amanaman, yeah man, I'll never forget having that figure. Weird. And then, that's Power of the Jedi. This is the TVC, this is Kithaba. But I think there's 2 characters, am I right? I need your help on this, ladies and gentlemen. I need your help. She needs your help. I'm getting too old for this sort of thing. I do believe that there was a figure for this guy that you could have got in a Power of the Force 2 skiff set as well that had the white top. So let's go back on the card back. See what I mean? This guy has a white top. And I refuse to believe that they've based this figure on that image card. So there's got to be 2 guys that were, what were they called now? Clatuian. Am I right? Is they Clatuian? These dog-faced guys. But anyway, this is a red bandanaed Kithaba, which I opened from TVC 1.0, and they're bringing him back. It's crazy that I opened him, but there were people saying how rare it was, but I think that was Americans. In the UK, I couldn't sell it for love nor money, and it was a decent price as well. I wasn't scalping him, but I opened it in the end. So that was a red bandana Kithaba. But you can still buy Kithaba / formerly known as Barada. Now in the TVC they've reissued him, but there is that. So I'd guess that for this kind of character, even though there could be 2 potentially, a bit like Woof and Klaatu are 2 different guys, of that ilk, this is the best figure you can get. And that's all I'm going to say on it. That's 86. We'll call that Barada. Number 87, this is something that came out of my recent TVC quick shot of the Imperial Gunner, but I've got to show you 2 because obviously the guy in the foreground is the best articulated figure we have for a Imperial Gunner, but as has been rightly noted, a lot of people in the comments of that, and it's good to hear from people on their opinion, but the head is too small. Oh, I've gone too close because I've got Han's Carbonite chamber in front of me. It does still look good, but look at the head of that. I mean, when I do see this old Power of the Force 2 figure, if you forgo the steroidy body, the head is pretty good, and I remember it being scaled like that. And I'm going to say what I always say about the Imperial Gunner. When I was a child, I thought these guys were like aliens, like little mole men. Seriously. I did not picture a human inside them. I thought they were like little wombles. Like, not wombles, you know what I mean? But just like little mole men. Like gophers or something, you know what I mean? They just look... They could be a human with a helmet on, but I just envisaged even with a helmet on, they just looked like little, I don't know, critters or something, I don't know, inside. It's just because they're completely masked and they looked like they were small. The heads, again, yeah, see, the heads were kind of big on them. They even could be little guys like Ugnaughts in a way, but yeah, that is quite a small head for this updated one. So I've never done it in my life. I've done some customizations, but I've never done a pop. Boil and pop, never. So I might try experiment with that. But since that's a ball joint head, I don't know how easy that job would be, but someone's probably done it. They've probably removed the head of this type here and put it on this articulated body. Who knows? If you're somebody who's done that, let me know. But let's, in the meantime, move on to a sculpt they've never ever mucked up. I'd say they've always done a good job with hand carbonite. Going right back to this time here now. This is 88. Han Solo Carbonite. It'd be rude not to show you a figure as well. I'm doing this one-handed, ladies and gentlemen, so I can get in close to these characters. But this is the Black Series one that I opened. But it got reissued in TVC. And from what I can remember, the figure that they reissued didn't necessarily have that much of an update on this one. But there's the figure. It's an alright likeness of Han Solo. I always thought this was kind of a fat-headed... very fathead figure, that one, but still, let's go to what really matters, which is him in carbonite, and this is tremendous. I've actually, by accident, because I've had a wad of blue tack on the end of this figure for so many years that when I tried to pull it off, this started to come out. So I've actually removed the back of this, so I'll show you that in a minute as well. But anyway, let's just enjoy the front. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Han and carbonite. It's always been a brilliant mold or sculpt that they've produced these blocks of carbonite with, and they always sort of like look like he looked in the film. Just want to show you the back. I've never seen the inside of this block before. I've never tried to remove it, but I have there. But look at that, you see, and I presume you could probably fit that hand inside, although we'd probably stick out sideways, as they all did, you know, even the Power of the Force 2 did. I'm gonna stick this back on for you, ladies and gentlemen. 2014, yeah, it goes to the sculpt, mold, whatever. It goes right back to when they produced it for the Black Series TIE Fighter line. Let's move on to number 89, which is Luke Skywalker, Stormtrooper. And would there be any doubt that I wouldn't choose this one? This is the latest one from TVC. I shall put the TVC number up in the top corner. But I've got a few of these because I bought them for army building purposes. I like this figure. It's good. It's a really good Mark Hamill. Lots of good Mark Hamills are out. You've got Yavin. You've got this. You've got Jedi Luke as well. You've got Pilot X-Wing Luke. Whatever they've used to produce this likeness of Mark Hamill has obviously been transferred somehow to their production technique. But what we really need is a farm boy Luke. But anyway, let's get rid of him. We've seen him before. He's just dropped his helmet. But that's a great Luke Skywalker head, and it just works on a Stormtrooper body, which is the all relative to the VC 140. Let's put that helmet on again. Oh, uniform. Great. It's a great Stormtrooper, that period, isn't it? So that's that. There's nothing that's going to beat that figure that I've just shown you. Then we've got 90, Anakin Skywalker. This is where it gets complicated. This last 12 is complicated, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just move Evie. And I'm going to show you the only figure I've got for Sebastian Shaw. And rightly so, he's a Force Ghost. Now, you're probably a kid from the 80s who owned a Sebastian Shaw figure like that. Now, I never did. And even if I did as a child, I probably think to myself, he doesn't look like a ghost. He doesn't, does he? He looks like he's alive or human. And the only live Anakin Skywalker of that age would have been in a black suit as Darth Vader, but still, I'm sure kids would have used their imaginations, as they say, and imagined him as a ghost or put him in a setup as a ghost. But this is literally, I mean, they did make him in the Power of the Force 2, and that's where this mould comes from, but that's the only figure I've got for a Sebastian Shaw Anakin. So that's a missing one for my 96. And I think the only one they ever made was Power of the Force 2. And certainly now, what we're bringing in Hayden Christensen. If you want to see a really good figure of Hayden Christensen, I can show you. If you know my channel, you'll know I love this figure. And I'll say again, I've got no problem with this fella. I like Hayden a lot. But I really hated the fact that they made his Force Ghost young. He died as an old man. He redeemed as an old man. His ghost should have stayed. That's George's decision. It wasn't some Disney decision. That was George Lucas, man. And don't get your logic on that one, George. Doesn't work in my mind. Don't like that change. But let's have a look at this here. I want to do a video talking about an Ewok village. As long as the more time goes on and the more Ewoks I'm collecting, I've got a vision of there being a really nice potential HasLab for Ewok village, but we'll talk more about that later. But check that texture out there. That beautiful floor there's wonderful, isn't it? There you are. That's number 90, Anakin Skywalker. Number 91 is EV99. You just saw her briefly, but this is a Power of the Force 2 one. Not bad. I think this is the last time they ever made her. I always thought that this was really like too tall. I never imagined her being that tall. She's almost like 7 foot. Look at her against Han Solo. He's a tall guy. You know what I mean? In the movie, I remember she sort of like wobbled on a spindly. I didn't realise she had 2 legs. She seemed to be like wobbling, like, you know what I mean? Like on a spindle. But anyway, I was happy with the look of this figure. I got this, I think, when I went to Echo Base Live. It's a good place to go if you want to get a lot of secondary market first-hand figures is what I meant to say there, not second-hand. It wasn't loose. I bought it carded, but it was a bloody bargain. Comes with this little panel there, and never had the 80s version. I had a friend who did. I had 88 as a kid, but never had EV. And she would look great in TVC, articulated and extra weathering and stuff. But this is all about the best of the 96. That's the best figure I have in my collection. And I assume you as well, because I think that's the only one they've ever done for her. Unless there's been some kind of comic pack. What have we got next? Warwick. I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. I do not have a figure for Warwick. It's sad. I thought I had all the bases covered. Remember Chief Chirper? And I was like sort of jumping for joy that I had a Chief Chirper figure. Well, I've got one coming now from Tungori, and I had one for Romba. Well, damn it, man, that's officially one that's a complete blank for that. I don't have a Warwick figure, but let me know in the comments what the best version was for Warwick they've made in the modern line. And I know that I've got a lot of friends who know exactly what that would be, but let me know. But then let's move on to 93, Lando Calrissian. And this is one, I think I got this from the Black Series, but he has seen a couple of issues. This is the same figure that was TVC 1.0. I'll put the VC number in the top corner. Then we saw him back in the Black Series. Then they've reissued him again in TVC. So he's a bit light in that respect. He's just like Admiral Akbar. Admiral Akbar has been back and forth in multiple releases. TVC to Black Series to TVC again. But this is the best you're going to get. The head sculpt. No, really looks alright. It looks Lando-y to me. Some people have made remarks on the skin tone for Lando. He does change. He's slightly lighter on certain releases, but I don't know, man. It seems to look like Billy D. Williams to me. I think I've seen a better one on the latest Lando's the best. Oh, yeah, definitely. The latest Bespin Lando is the best I've ever seen for Billy D. Williams, although his skin tone is looking pretty golden there. What's going on, Hasbro? Moving on. Let's have a look at the A-Wing pilot. And I don't want to waffle on too long, ladies and gentlemen, but I did talk about which is best. I just want to talk about Taicho again. Taito Selchu, I think, is the direct equivalent of Kian Farlander. He's an EU character, and so this is what I always dreamed in my head would be the A-Wing pilot for the TVC on a vehicle card. Your other option would be this guy, Arvel Krinid, who is Green Leader, but I think he deserves his own card in TVC because he's the most seen pilot in the movie, I'd say. And also, I thought that his helmet reflected more of, or closest to, the A-Wing's helmet. Although one could argue that the vintage A-Wing, he could have the same soft skull cap with the earmuffs there as this guy does. Is that even a helmet he's wearing? I know the vintage 80s B-Wing pilot seemed to be wearing a helmet like this. Who knows, man? And then look at this guy's helmet here. That's the same helmet as... There's too many of them. I always imagine that guy in a Y-Wing, because when he goes, I'm here! That's a Y-Wing spinning out of control. I think he is in a Y-wing. It could be in a B-wing, that guy, the Asian guy. But anyway, so it's hey, they're much of a muchness, these two figures anyway, but I always wanted Taicho to be recarded in TVC to match Kian. But either way, this is a great guy, and this is your most famous A-wing pilot, isn't he? Arvel Crinid. Intensify forward firepower! Ah, true lies! Moving on. The penultimate figure of the whole series is the Imperial Dignitary, and man do I wish I had Simalu, the vintage 80s Simalu, because apart from that, I don't have anything for a Dignitary other than these two gentlemen. Their names escape me, but that just says to you, loud and clear, Hasbro, if you're watching this channel, this video, we need Simalu in the up-to-date scheme of things, you know, in the modern line. Bring us Simalu, man, because we've only got the vintage 80s, and he's kind of important, isn't he? So I reckon they're cooking that up now, man. I'd love to think they were thinking about doing a shuttle for the HasLab as well, or something like that. That would be awesome. Him packed in. Pfft. Imagine it. I keep pointing the camera up there to Dolce Define because I can imagine the figure of Simalu being as amazing as that Dolce Define. And finally, one of my favourite figures. I think this guy might even make my top 12. When I look back at this whole series and look at the best figures out of the 96, this has to be somewhere there, because I'll never forget opening this when I got the barge back in 2019, and I just thought, my God, that's a great looking figure. I did have a yak face as well as a kid, which is frightening because loose he goes for massive amounts of money, and I had him, and then I remember thinking to myself, what's all the fuss about, man? Is he that rare? I had one, you know. But I think it was a US UK thing, that, to be honest, but from what I know. But this is a fantastic figure. What a great way to end there on Yak Face. Let me just bring him right back into the center because the light is behind us there. Drink it in, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you do a good alien in 3 3/4 inch, fully articulated. And that is the end of the series. Like I said to you, ladies and gentlemen, it's not over yet. There are other videos I'm going to make. I'm going to give you another couple of videos, the worst of the 96 that I've covered this whole series, and the best of the 96. And there is more to come as well. A name I have mentioned a ridiculous amount of times, Daniel Chart. He had an idea of doing another thing as well, looking at the best that weren't 96. And I've kind of done videos like that before. I've looked at original trilogy characters. I think I did a video called Original Trilogy Characters that weren't in the 96. So I looked at people like General Riken, I think, and Garin Dan, and all those kind of people. So I'm going to do a series like that. I'm going to do one for Star Wars, for Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And I'll see if I can dig out 12 characters in the modern era that could have and should have been in the original 96. That would be a really good thing to explore. And it's kind of a re-revision of something I've already discussed, but it's a kind of a fresher perspective on that. Anyway, thank you very much for sticking with me. If you've enjoyed the series, thank you for watching it. The comments have been fantastic. Do hit the like button on the way out, as ever. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I shall leave it there. This has been Only One Kenobi. Only one. Out.